This could be the final ND system you'll ever need to buy for your camera setup. Now today we are looking at the magnetic variable ND system by Freewell. Now before we get started, Freewell did actually send me this system to test and review, but they have no say in this video whatsoever. I'm really excited to test this system out. This is something quite unique, and I've been using Freewell NDs on our Sony system for quite a long time now, but that's just sort of the standard screw-on adapter. This is their new magnetic setup, and this is a whole system where you've got a mist filter in here, you've got circular polarizers, and you've got variable ND adapters from 2 all the way up to 9 stops. That's really quite impressive, having it all in one system. So how does this system actually work? Well, first off, you have your screw adapter that goes on the front of the lens, and then here you put in your base filter, whether that is the mist filter, which is going to give you those nice bloomed highlights, or just the standard one if you don't want that. And once you've got that, this is where you actually attach the ND strength that you want to use. So you have 2 to 5 stops, and then you have 6 to 9 stops. And you really quite simply just line it up on the ND filter here, and suddenly now with magnets it's attached to the front and you can start turning it like any other variable ND. Now if you bought cheap variable ND filters in the past, you might have noticed that they don't have hard stops at each end and let you just keep turning for as long as you like. And this can be a problem because sometimes if you go too far with a variable ND, you'll get that dreaded X. And sometimes you don't always see that appear on the screen when you're actually shooting, and you might only notice it when you get back in the edit, and that can be really frustrating. Now you would think with this magnetic system, being able to remove the front element, it would be impossible to actually add hard stops, but Freewell have actually managed to do that with their engineering, and that is really quite impressive. So as you can see with the 6 to 9 stops here, you have hard stops at each end of the filter, stopping you from going too far. Now, when you want to use the circular polarizer part of this kit, you don't need to grab another filter from the set. Instead, no, you just flip around your variable ND. So in this case, the 6 to 9 stops. When you flip it around, suddenly now it's an ND32 circular polarizer filter. This is the same for the 2 to 5 stop filter as well. When you flip that round, it just becomes a normal circular polarizer filter. The engineering and the build quality of this entire set is really impressive throughout. I'm amazed how well they put all this together. The magnets are nice and strong and you feel confident they're not going to fall off while shooting. I did initially feel a bit of a concern because after all, you know there's nothing actually holding on that front element, and I was filming just above water and I was a bit worried it was going to fall off the front, maybe if I knocked it or something. But certainly actually once you start using it, you realise that those magnets are more than strong enough and they're not going to be falling off while you're shooting. The case that the filters come in is also really nice. Often you get these really horrible CD style cases that just break really quickly and no one likes using them. You end up putting them into another bag anyway, or another case anyway. But in this case, the leather case that comes with the set is really nice. It lays out all your different filters neatly inside, so you can easily quickly pick which one you need without any concerns. In there, they've even added some nice little slots for SD cards and micro SD cards. So just nice little touches that Freewell have done when it comes to this set. Now let's talk about the image quality that these filters can provide. With the standard filter, there doesn't seem to be any real noticeable shift in color, which is good to see even when switching between the lighter and the stronger NDs. If you just need a nice, clean image, this is certainly a great way to go. Now, I was very intrigued to start using the mist filter. Mist filters are something that I generally avoid using. I'm usually a bit too concerned that they're going to affect the image too much, and that if I'm working with a client, they're not going to like what the image it produces. It may be just too soft or too much blooming, and it just overpowers the image to the point that it could ruin potentially a really important shot. But after playing around with the mist filter in this setup, I've got to say it looks really nice. It's subtle, it definitely softens and blooms out those highlights, but nothing too strong. I was really impressed about the way that it actually produces those bloomed highlights. It looks very cinematic indeed, just lifting the shadows slightly, just softening it down compared to when we use the normal filter. When there isn't a strong light source, it doesn't affect the image too much. You're not seeing this sort of soft image that I have noticed on other mist filters in the past. With the mist filter, I was so impressed that, to be honest, I would happily leave this on all day, regardless what I was shooting. I think it doesn't soften the image too much, and it only just gives you those nice little bloom highlights when needed. The fact it's just built into the variable ND system as standard, it's not like an additional thing you need to add on to the front of your lens, is really useful. I think for a lot of people out there that really love using their mist filters, and often they might be finding that they're having to stack it with a variable ND as well when they go outside or when they're shooting in a bright scenario, well, from now on they could just get this system and actually just have it all built in one. And then when they need a circular polarizer to get rid of some reflections perhaps, they can just flip one of those filters around and suddenly now you have a circular polarizer built into the system as well without stacking even further. When using the circular polarizer filter, you will need to remove the base filter that you're using. Otherwise, you're going to get some really crazy color shifting like this. However, if you do use them correctly, there really isn't any color shift whatsoever with either of the filters. This is such a versatile kit. I love kit out there that is really versatile and does everything that you need to do without the faff of having to bring additional items. And I think that is the number one reason I would go with this magnetic variable system. I think it just covers you for pretty much everything. It's one system that fits in one nice case that you just know will tick all the boxes whichever scenario you may face. These certainly aren't the cheapest ND filters out there, but the fact that you've got so much versatility all built into one kit is so useful and definitely worth the money. For me, these filters paired with a Sony a7 IV and a 24-70 is such an ideal setup for most corporate shoots. With that very small package, you would be covered for 90% of the shoots you'd ever need to do inside or out. In fact, if you want to hear more about my opinions on the Sigma 24-70, then make sure you check out this video right here, as it is an awesome lens that you definitely should be buying straight away.